Hey everyone, welcome back to That's Not Bad. I'm Phil, great to have you here. Today we've got something quite different. So this is a request from Jacob. Jacob, thank you my friend, and I'll tell you what it is. I'm a person who believes very much in coincidence, a little bit superstitious, but it's really weird, right? So this particular video, fly with the RAF's quick reaction alert cruise. Sounds very interesting. But why I find it quite a funny coincidence is that my office down in the waterfront of Wellington overlooks a few wharfs. Normally see nothing but bloody trawlers and Inter-Island ferry, that type of thing. But for the last couple of days, there has been a really interesting dark grey, small naval vessel with sort of, I don't even know how you describe it, interesting maritime camouflage on the side. And I thought, well, I know it's not a New Zealand vessel. I just presumed, oh, it must be a Southeast Asian vessel, maybe Australian, not really sure. But today I was sitting at my desk and I thought, oh shit, it's moving out. And what do you know, on the back of it is, what do you call it, the Royal Navy ensign, the flag. And I thought, shit, it's a Royal Navy vessel. And looked up the number on the side of it, and it's a, is it a Swan class patrol boat? I might stand corrected, but it was HMS Spey. River class, I think it is. But I was thinking to myself, what the hell is a Royal Navy patrol ship? So it's not even a destroyer. What is a patrol ship doing literally on the other side of the world? And I haven't had a chance to look it up, but I'm guessing it's on a goodwill visit or sort of wave the flag, given what's happening with AUKUS and our Chinese friends and our American friends and everything else, all the geopolitical stuff, which I will not get into. So to get sent a request to check out an RAF quick reaction alert video is really cool. I've seen something like this, which I think was American, and I think it was filmed a couple of years after 9/11, when things were perhaps a bit heightened. Never seen a British or a European. In fact, the only one I've seen is American. So this will be quite interesting just to see how they do it, what they're thinking about, what they're talking about, and I guess also what the access is. So I've rambled enough. Let's get into it. Boom. Typhoon.
The Eurofighter Typhoon, one of the most advanced fighter jets in the world, armed and ready. The pilots set to scramble at a moment's notice to defend the country on the orders of the British government.
This is what order I've been given. This is my job. I am the weapons platform.
For the first time, cameras have been allowed to film every stage
First time.
of this vital part of national security.
Good shit.
The scenario is that we potentially have to shoot down an aircraft.
We have scrambled to QRA jets.
We have been inside the UK's top secret nuclear bunker and heard from the
Shit.
pilots themselves and the politicians who would give them the order to shoot down a plane.
If you were a hostile aircraft, that's quite threatening.
In a matter of seconds, the sky defenders of the United Kingdom...
I wonder how many months or years of planning it took to get access to that facility to make this segment here.
See aircraft coming across the southeast of England, and we're ready now.
This is the story of how the RAF protects Britain's skies every minute of every day.
And more relevant now than ever, right? With the whole Ukraine situation. Sure.
RAF Coningsby in Lincolnshire is home to 2 frontline Typhoon squadrons. 30 combat jets are based here. They are flown by 40 pilots and supported by 400 ground crew. They have many roles, but the one that never ends for them is a mission known as QRA. It stands for Quick Reaction Alert. The RAF's operation to protect the skies of Britain. On a discreet part of RAF Coningsby is a building nicknamed the Q Shed. It sits between 2 hangars. Inside each one is an aircraft loaded with fuel and missiles, ready to take off day or night. The pilots take it in turns on the QRA rota. Each shift lasts 24 hours. They don't want us to broadcast their surnames, for their own purpose.
Oh, interesting roster system. Okay.
The sort of the feelings when you're on shift and you're fairly tense because you don't know.
So what they do, 124-hour stint a month, maybe?
You can't think about it too much because otherwise your mind wouldn't be in the right place when you got the shout. Obviously, you've always got an ear on anything that can happen.
On shift, the Q shed becomes home. There are bedrooms so they can sleep overnight, but on duty, their senses never fully switch off. Mark is coming to the end of his first shift, and it's been a quiet one.
These guys, I mean, these are the sharp edge of the spear, right? I mean, you know, the QRA, or to even be in a frontline fighter squadron like this, I mean, they are the best of the best, right? I mean, I guess that's a general rule no matter what Air Force you're flying for, but, you know, the RAF, you know, they are, you know, at this level, you know, they are at the top of the pile, you know, Israeli Air Force, be right up there. I probably get death threats if I didn't say the United States Air Force, a few other air arms, but, you know, they are the top of the tree. And I just think, man, you know, how many years, how many millions of dollars or millions of pounds went into this chap to get him to be the weapon that he is now, you know, or controlling that weapon system. That's doesn't bear thinking about.
First QRA.
Yeah.
What sort of feeling of responsibility do you have?
Yeah, it's a huge feeling of responsibility. It's kind of nice to be able to kind of fulfil the training that we've carried out for such a long period of time. But yeah, there certainly is a weight of responsibility. Yeah.
Why is it important for you to be doing this job?
I think it's as John said before, I think it's a real privilege to be in this position to protect the country as a whole.
It's been a gentle introduction to QRA for Mark. Not every shift, though, is as quiet as this one. On average, 8,000 aircraft enter British airspace every single day.
8,000?
This
Fuck!
animation shows the actual route of each plane during one typical 24-hour period.
8,000? That's hard to fathom, really, isn't
Whether
it?
they're landing, taking off, or just passing overhead, each aircraft must be closely monitored.
It is quite a challenge, but our training and the practicing and the simulation that we do in terms of our operations are fundamental to making sure that we achieve the tasks that we are assigned to do. We're identifying aircraft every day, and we're looking for every aircraft that comes into the UK to understand where it's going, what it's doing. But on occasions, on a daily basis, there are instances where we are unsure of what the aircraft is doing, or it might be in a different place to where we were expecting it, or a different time.
And I guess, you know, with the end of the Cold War, but then what happened with 9/11, I wonder how their processes, their systems may have changed, if at all, to cater for the whole civilian aircraft nut job hijacker scenario, or if they just treat every unidentified aircraft or every sort of course deviation in the same way. But I just wonder how 9/11 might have changed, you know, what goes on in this room, for example.
The British military has 2 air control and reporting centres, CRCs, one based at RAF Bulmer in Northumberland, and this one at RAF Scampton in Lincolnshire, just a few miles to the west of the Typhoon station at RAF Coningsby. For security reasons, the various parts of the QRA operation are kept in different locations in case of attack. Their job here is to identify...
Yes, attack, fuck.
They are looking for abnormal behaviour, unusual flight paths, loss of communication, unidentified areas.
Surely in this context, attack is all or nothing, right? We're either going to get nuked or we're not. There's no real conventional threat, would there be? I don't know. I wouldn't have thought so.
Okay, what we've got is we've had a call on the guard radio. Guard radio is where every aircraft within the UK listens to that radio, with air traffic going out for an aircraft who is not speaking to anyone at the moment.
Every single aircraft in the UK?
Every aircraft will listen into the guard radio, so that actually if they need to be contacted, they can be contacted. In this particular instance, an aircraft has got airborne out of Marham. We believe it to have a stuck receiver, which means he can't hear. But we have not had him check in, so they've gone on guard radio to try and contact him to establish two-way communications with him, and therefore be able to identify him and confirm which aircraft it is.
It turns out to be a US Air Force plane with radio problems. Nothing to worry about. The Typhoon crews...
Interesting they haven't blanked out any of their
We
screens.
have two main
Maybe they've
missions in respect
determined
of,
what's a
reaction
security
alert.
concern and what's not,
One
so far as
is,
what's being shown.
against, military aircraft and Russian aircraft, and the other one is very much a UK-centric 9/11 type scenario.
Okay.
This is a Russian Bear aircraft. It's a long-range Tupolev bomber. Recently, Vladimir Putin has been using them to challenge NATO's response.
How do you assess that current geopolitical situation for the Russians?
The first question is, go and speak to Mr. Putin and see what his intentions
Mr.
are.
Putin!
I think the important thing from my viewpoint,
He's
we
lost
have
the
a
fucking plot.
responsibility as a NATO member, firstly to reassure those member states that are much closer to any potential Russian threat than ourselves, that we are here, that NATO is fit for purpose, and of course to deter, as part of NATO, any potential aggressors to the organisation and the country.
So this, I must admit, I don't think I checked how old this is. This is obviously predating Ukraine, I can imagine. But just what this chap has said here, that encompasses. I said I wasn't going to get into a geopolitical thing, but that encompasses, I guess, what the UK wants to be about. Defender of democracy principles, which personally I think is absolutely fantastic, and you can say what you want around what's happened so far and what's coming, but I think that someone made a stand and stood up to Russia and what's happened in itself is absolutely admirable. We live on the other side of the world where I am, and we're very much a fucking, I won't use the word, actually I'm going to use it, look, peace, love and brown rice. I love my country. I am a centre-left sort of guy, but we've gone very left-wing when it comes to defence, and in some ways trying to have independent foreign policy and be complete. You've got to remember who your friends are, and you've got to remember who your history are, where your history is. I'm not going to go down that path. I said I wouldn't, but I like what this guy's talking about.
Only last Thursday, 2 RAF Typhoons were scrambled from Lossiemouth.
Love to know what that says. Fuck England.
A Russian blackjack.
Fuck NATO, maybe.
Bomber that is capable of flying supersonic.
Send nudes. I don't know.
The Russian planes don't submit a flight plan or transmit their position. They never actually enter British airspace, but fly into the British area of interest to test the RAF's reactions.
They're doing their job, and we're doing our job to determine what is happening and then feed that back to the fighter controllers. And
Flight Lieutenant Ben.
In April 2015, a Russian Bear bomber flew up the English Channel straight through busy commercial flight paths.
Fuck up the English Channel
of that incident, filmed from inside the Russian plane, the RAF Typhoons shadowing it alongside.
This kind of flying is extremely intimidatory. It's also dangerous. They may not enter our airspace, but they don't respond. They don't file flight plans. They don't respond to air traffic control. They don't even respond to our pilots when they're up in the air.
Don't give a fuck.
It's unnecessary behaviour. It's intimidatory. It's designed to annoy us, but it's important we respond to it, and we do.
In a matter of seconds, the sky defenders of the United Kingdom are away on what is now.
And this is the legacy, right? Right here.
75 years ago, the men and women of the RAF were performing a very similar role.
And a lot of Kiwis were involved, a number of Kiwi pilots.
A very different enemy.
Goering's Luftwaffe took its first licking.
In 1940, the German Luftwaffe was bombing airfields across the southeast of England. The only thing
Battle of Britain is a great movie.
With a hurricane.
I haven't seen that for a long time.
Of fighter command.
But fantastic movie. Remember seeing as a little kid.
Battle of Britain.
Well, this is rather a large part of British history.
It's a Hurricane and
There was
Spitfire.
A replica Hurricane and a Spitfire as well. You wouldn't know it's here. You could almost walk straight past it, because 76 stairs below here is a World War II underground operations.
Oh my God! Look at that.
Command centre for the Battle of Britain.
During those tense days,
Holy
this
shit.
bunker at RAF Uxbridge was manned round the clock as the Nazis pummeled the airfields
Wow.
in the southeast.
Wow,
Key decisions.
that's quite iconic. That map or that board. I mean, that was in the Battle of Britain. I don't know if that's... Fuck, is it the original? I don't know, but that view there, that's iconic and obviously associated with the Battle of Britain. Wow. That's unreal. I don't know if that's open to the public. I would fucking definitely go in and have a look at that.
That would decide the fate of Europe were taken here, 60 feet underground.
It's extraordinary to think that just 70 years ago, this was very much the height of technology. And
There must be the original, surely.
During those days, there would have been 20
Holy
people
shit.
crowded around this table, all of them women, working in pairs, plotting the route of German aircraft as they came across the English Channel. One RAF officer said it was like a game of tennis. The Germans were always serving, the RAF were the ones returning. And on that day, that crucial day, as if to add to the pressure, Winston Churchill, the Prime Minister, was up here watching down, and he saw on the board behind all of the lights turn red, meaning that every single Spitfire and Hurricane squadron was up in the air engaging the Germans. And he turned to the man in charge and said, "How much have we got in reserve?" The answer came back, "None."
Fucking hell.
Fighter command was vastly outnumbered.
Fuck. And another, geez, I hope I got my facts right here. Is it Sir Keith Park? Now, he was a Kiwi, or he was born in New Zealand, but he played a major role in the Battle of Britain. I'm sure there's a statue of him somewhere in London. Geez, I should know this. I like to think I know what I'm talking about, or at least sound, half correct when it comes to history. I'm sure it's Sir Keith Park. And he was one of the senior guys over that Battle of Britain period. I can't remember who played him in the Battle of Britain movie, but I know there's a very strong connection via him just to that room, but to this part in history. Yeah, it's awesome.
At them with over 3,000 aircraft.
I'm pretty sure I got that correct.
Only had 600 in the beginning.
Fighter Command lost 103 pilots killed, 128 seriously injured. The lifeblood of Fighter Command, its fighter pilots, was ebbing away. So we were in a pretty serious state. We had pilots. We didn't have combat-trained pilots, and pilots were arriving at frontline squadrons, if they were lucky, with 20 hours experience on a Hurricane or a Spitfire. Some with 15, some with 10, some with none at all.
Shit!
The Hurricane might have shot down more planes in the battle, but the Spitfire has become a British icon.
Well, this is the last remaining airworthy Spitfire to have fought in the Battle of Britain, and the RAF bought it for £25 off a scrap heap back in 1948.
Wow!
Would you believe it? It's not particularly comfortable, I have to say, and to imagine that these young men would go up in it 4 or 5 times a day to face the Germans over the English Channel is quite something.
Wow.
Today, the home of the Battle of Britain Memorial Flight is RAF Coningsby. The planes that defended Britain's skies 75 years ago now live alongside their modern successors, the Typhoons. There are a few RAF pilots who get to fly both. One of those is Coningsby's station commander, Group Captain.
Man, what a privilege that must be.
These old aeroplanes, you can really feel them. There's not much to them. It's you and the stick. Whereas the modern aeroplanes, it's all about processing the information rather than actually flying the aeroplane. So you're sitting there as a battle space manager rather than a pure pilot.
Battle space manager. Look at that!
Like the Spitfire and the Hurricane, the Typhoon was designed for a dogfight. It was built to shoot down the enemy. From their Lincolnshire base, they can be over central London in just 10 minutes. When the alarm goes, there is no time for a briefing. Coming up, the siren sounds.
Well, here we go. Here we go.
The siren goes off and we need to be out of those aircraft as soon as possible.
The training just kicks in and the adrenaline flows.
And we experience firsthand what it is like to be intercepted at 35,000 feet.
If you did not respond immediately to my orders and turn east, you will be shot down.
That'd be pretty intimidating. I mean, presuming you win a nut job trying to do something bad, to see those turn up outside your wing, you'd be like, fuck, we better pay attention.
The government built this bunker at RAF Air Command outside High Wycombe in Buckinghamshire. It is so top secret that this is the first time cameras have been allowed to film it.
Wow.
3 sets of blast doors protect it from nuclear, biological, and chemical attack. There are 4 floors going deep below the ground. On the second, somewhere in the heart of the bunker, is the National Air Defence Operations Centre, the NADOC, the top of the military chain to protect Britain's skies.
Michael, this is the MC for the NatRep. We still have no radio contact with...
The role of the NADOC is to act very much as the hub, the fusion point, if you want, for all the information that comes in to allow us to exercise air defence on behalf of the United Kingdom Air Defence Command.
We've got a lost comms on a call sign.
If a suspicious aircraft appears, there is a direct line from here to the Department of Transport and the Metropolitan Police Counter-Terror Unit. They can swap intelligence to build a clearer picture of the threat. In real emergencies, a red phone connects straight to Downing Street.
Red
when
phone.
dialed, a voice answers with one simple word, London. It is then transferred to the Prime Minister or to a senior cabinet minister if he is away.
When the phone rings, even during an exercise, the heart beats a little faster.
Yes, there are lives at stake, there are uncertainties, you're unsure as to how real the threat is, and there's advice available to you, but in the end, a minister has to take that decision.
The QRA operation is highly sensitive. It has never been filmed before, from start to finish, but the RAF gave us unprecedented access.
Interesting they made that call to let it broadcast around. Was it Sky? Shit.
Flew out of RAF Coningsby to play the part of a hijacked passenger plane.
So we've been heading east over the North Sea. We're about there at the moment. And in a minute we're going to turn around. We're going to start coming back down towards the UK, but this time as an unidentified aircraft. At which point the alarm bells will start ringing. The Typhoons based here in Coningsby will be scrambled and they will come out.
Is that running Windows XP? Did I see that correctly?
At RAF Scampton,
hope he's got his service packs on.
Is identified on the computer screens.
Just of interest. East Coast inbound.
They immediately contact the NADOC in the bunker at RAF Air Command.
NatRep, good morning, sir. This is the Master Controller. I have a track of interest in the system for you. Zulu 001. He's East Coast heading northwest right now at 35,000 feet.
Yeah, I can see it on your radar.
Roger, that's understood. I will bring quick reaction alert to readiness. Stand by.
The Master Controller at Scampton alerts the Typhoons.
Coningsby Operations and QRA. This is the Black Dog Master
Here we
Controller
go.
knowledge.
QRA.
Q on. 4 quick reaction alerts. Scramble, scramble, scramble acknowledge.
QRA.
Here we go.
The 2 pilots and their ground teams run to the hangars.
Man, they must get the adrenaline going. Even if you're a seasoned veteran, man, that's what it's all about, right?
To begin powering up the jet, even as they climb into the cockpit. The Typhoons are cleared to take off.
We have scrambled 2 QRA jets to intercept this lost comms aircraft. 1 jet has been cleared supersonic.
Climb flight level 410 and 400. Set speed initially decimal and 9. Your mission, interrogate.
Decimal 9.
As they break through the clouds,
Any other information have we got on this aircraft?
the team on the ground are still trying to gather intelligence.
Because I guess that must be a challenge for the UK around geography, because the landmass of the UK is, broadly similar to New Zealand, slightly different shape, but for all intents and purposes, pretty similar. And I guess if you've got threats coming from the northeast, they're going to go past places. Let's say they're Russian, they're going to go past the Scandinavian countries. So it's not as if they're going to appear out of the blue, or you would presume they're going to know. They're probably going to know as soon as they take off from satellite coverage that, hey, there's Russian aircraft in the air and they can track them all the way down. But it just makes me think that shit. You could go from coast to coast of the UK in minutes, same as NZ. So there's no time to spare, really, is there? That, you know, any suggestion of a threat, you can't fuck around. They've got to send them up, even if, I don't know, 49 times out of 50 it's a false alarm or a red herring. And in the current climate that we're in now, you can just imagine the tension with these guys and girls every time the fucking klaxon sounds, right? Jesus Christ.
With air traffic control.
The Typhoons need to reach it fast and assess the situation for themselves. The quicker they get there, the more thinking time for the Prime Minister, if he is called upon to make a decision. And
to shoot the fucker down. Jesus
we
Christ.
start with breaking news tonight as a Russian-built Latvian cargo plane's been intercepted by RAF Typhoons and escorted into
Russian-built
Airport.
Latvian.
In October
How old is this? I must
2014,
have a look.
the Typhoons from RAF Coningsby flew supersonic to intercept a Latvian aircraft approaching London. It wasn't communicating, and so the RAF pilot gave this final warning.
1605 from the Lima 9 Tango 47. I'm instructed by Her Majesty's Government of the United Kingdom to warn you that if you do not respond immediately to my orders, you will be shot down.
The cargo plane was safely escorted into Stansted.
Holy
it is
shit.
one of the UK's designated airports for terrorist
I
incidents.
don't remember that being on the news at all.
Cockpit,
Holy
people
shit.
Communicating with the cockpit are fully trained, fully rehearsed, and ready for that moment.
Because is English not the universal language of aviation? Like, no matter where you go in the world, pilots and control towers and all that, don't you have to know English? English is the common denominator. So if you're flying a fucking Latvian, like a Russian-built Latvian cargo plane, if you're going to communicate, you're going to be using English. Am I right in that? Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm assuming that's right.
Coningsby, even as the two Typhoons are closing in on our target aircraft, new jets are being readied should another call come in.
Ah, interesting, okay.
The pilot inspects the weapons and does his pre-flight checks in the cockpit.
Send
The
two up,
siren
put another
sound,
two in the hangar.
Everything must be ready to
Rinse
go.
and repeat.
Although there is another QRA base at RAF Lossiemouth in Scotland, Coningsby must be set to launch any time of day or night, even if some of its aircraft are already deployed. 30,000 feet above the North Sea, the Typhoons are closing in on our aircraft. They approach cautiously, in case they spook the plane, and then they try to contact the cockpit.
Russian 66 from Q2, interceptor aircraft.
Our aircraft doesn't respond.
Q2, Black Dog, confirm no response.
It's remarkable how close they get. There's one either side of us at the moment, both fully armed. If you were
Holy shit, that's close.
aircraft, that's quite threatening.
How close is
Typhoon
that?
pilots will report what they're seeing back to the ground, and in turn receive any new intelligence.
Change heading onto east immediately, acknowledge.
So that they can stay on station for as long as needed,
refueling.
a refueling tanker is deployed.
So we'll be getting communications from the control and reporting centres at Scampton and Bulmer. They'll be giving us instructions as more information is fed to them, and they gain more information from other sources. And then gradually there's an escalation process if that needs to occur. There's nothing new in there that we don't practice, and the training just kicks in and the adrenaline flows.
I bet it does. Holy shit.
Having no luck with radio contact, the Typhoon pilots fire flares as a show of force. By now, most options have been tried, and our plane is still not responding. It has become a real threat to national security.
I am instructed by Her Majesty's Government of the United Kingdom to warn you that if you do not respond immediately to my orders to turn east, you will be shot down.
It is probable that were this happening
Fuck.
for real, the Prime Minister or a senior cabinet member would now be on the line and briefed.
The worst case scenario is that we potentially have to shoot down an aircraft, but that's having gone through the most robust processes and procedures in order to identify and interrogate that aircraft.
And who would make that decision?
That decision is held
Rishi.
at the political level, at the highest political level.
But who would give the order to the pilot?
The orders would be issued by my team.
Are they trained for that?
Absolutely, and they're ready to do that.
Would you be prepared to shoot down a commercial airliner?
At the end of the day, we're in the military. This is our job, 24/7, 365 days a year.
So yes.
If that's an order given to us and the correct protocols are being followed, the correct authentications be given, then yes, we can't think about it. It's our
There we
job.
go.
It's an order. It will when I land. It won't airball.
The Typhoons have returned to Coningsby. Another day on quick reaction alert.
Wow.
Their mission is over, their shift isn't. They go back on standby, ready should the alarm go again. In 1940, the young men and women of Fighter Command protected Britain's skies against Nazi invasion. Today, 75 years on, Russian aircraft continue to probe NATO's air defense. And the threat of terrorism is as high as it has been for many years.
Everyone knows their part in that system, they train for it, they rehearse for it, and so then if an event happens, then they're ready to react.
Training kicks in, this is what I've been trained to do, this is what order I've been given, this is my job.
Every pilot, engineer and controller is aware of the part that they play, keeping the country safe, protecting Britain's skies, every minute of every day.
Well, that was not bad at all. That was really interesting. And I tell you what, regardless of your political ideology or values or belief systems, I tell you what, you've got to be thankful to live in a country where there are men and women like that, you know, keeping the bad guys at bay, you know, to live under the umbrella of that sort of defence, that sort of system. You know, we down here, we live in a country that is completely undefended, and it's been argued that our defence is our isolation. You know, I'm not. I keep saying I'm not going to get into this geopolitical shit, but you know, we got rid of our combat force for political reasons, but because we don't have an immediate threat, you know, we haven't got someone on our land border, or we haven't got someone, you know, 500 miles away on the other side of the sea that poses a threat. We're very much inwards looking in some respects. You know, we have special forces, we have a military that is designed for humanitarian stuff, you know, but we don't face the sort of threats that Western Europe do, that NATO do, and what we just saw there, I mean, that's impressive, you know, and you would want, especially in this day and age, what's happening in Eastern Europe at the moment, you know, you would want, you wouldn't want any lesser a standard of defence in place to protect against fucking nut jobs, or, you know, Putin losing his marbles and doing God knows what. Much bigger discussion, but I found that really interesting. That was quite fascinating, and like I said, the only one I'd seen that was similar was American, and it was maybe 2 or 3 years after 9/11. So the messaging and focus was a bit different. It was all about fucking next time some nut job gets on a plane and tries to fly into a building, you know, we're a bit more ready than we were last time. So mate, thank you for the recommendation. That was that was completely left field to what we've done beforehand, but I think it's great. I mean, I'm open to anything, and that was most interesting. So thank you for the recommendation, my friend. And yeah, look forward to seeing what other requests we get through. No matter where you are in the world, stay safe. Take care. Cheers.